Probably Dunkin' coffees if I had.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of year. There's so much going on in college football, even though it seems like it's kind of a dead period for college football. We got bowl season, bowl games going
We're
crazy.
bowling.
We are bowling. We got the playoffs coming up. One of us in this studio is actually interested in the playoffs for very, very important reasons. One of us is just watching as he looks forward to next year and just kind of observing from afar. That is Tyler. I am Chad. I'm an LSU grad, LSU fan. Tyler is a big time Georgia fan, so he's looking to repeat, looking for the dogs to go back to back. But we got a lot of other stuff going on because tomorrow is the kickoff of the early signing period for college football. Something that they started a few years back, where now instead of everything being that first week, first Wednesday in February, now we have some weird stuff where guys get like a week to sign with teams in December, and it really throws everything into
Yeah.
an
Early
upheaval.
enrollment
Yeah, early
and
enrollment,
practicing, and they'll be
tran-
practicing in spring ball this year.
right.
They'll graduate.
Transfer portal. It
Yeah,
affects the
no,
transfer portal too because somebody lands a big edge rusher. Now your edge rusher that you thought was on the roster leaves to go to another school. It's crazy.
no, it's very interesting how it works, and I've kind of got a chance to see it kind of firsthand because Micah Parsons, starting
Hmm.
linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys, is from. I went,
Right.
went to my high school, then transferred to the other local high school. But like, would they kind of encourage you to like get all your high school credits like done early, and as you could do that, you can essentially graduate from high school, you know, legally graduate from high school early. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because
Right. Right.
you've met all your requirements to graduate,
Which is
and then
crazy. Like I like it. I did everything I could to just make it through high school. So like it
yeah,
was senior year was kind of like, all right, I'm granted now I wasn't an elite college football player getting
oh
recruited by a
really?
bunch of schools or anything like that. No, it was not. So I didn't maybe have the same motivation that some of these guys have to leave high school early, so to
Yeah,
speak. But yeah, I was senior year. There were a few classes where it was definitely coast mode, where I was like, yes, this
same,
is the last
100%.
last time I'm going to get to actually breathe
Yeah, right.
before I die. So let
And
me
so
just go
they're
ahead and
choosing to make their senior year almost more difficult because you're trying to
exactly.
cram a year's worth
Hmm.
of classes into one semester. Because the idea then is you can get them on campus, enrolled
Right.
into college courses, and practicing on your spring practices.
Yeah, and it's paid dividends. You've seen some schools that
Get
benefit
freshmen on the
tremendously
field right
from this.
away.
They're getting these freshmen. You see a lot of impact freshmen. Not so much at Texas A&M, although they have some. But there's no one more skilled at turning chicken salad into the other thing than Jimbo Fisher seems to be. But we won't talk about that because LSU went and laid an egg and lost to the Aggies in College Station. So I can't take a dump on them too much because they finally got us, and now they have our number. It seems so we can't win, but every other year against Texas A&M, whereas we just owned them for a while there. Well, so let's get into the big story, the big stuff that's going on right now. You got a lot of bowl games. We'll pull up the. I have. Let's see. I was going to actually switch tabs here. Let's see. Let
Yeah,
me
it's
share. Let me.
interesting. It's like, oh, now, it's like you walk out of your high school in December, and all of a sudden you're enrolled in college and practicing like
Right.
a month later. Like,
Yeah.
it's very, I don't know. That just seems like a lot to undertake as a
Hmm.
potentially still 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid. You know what I mean?
Right, right, for sure, for sure. So, all right, here we go. This is the college football playoff rankings, like we have discussed before. So here's your setup. This is we're before we get into the recruiting stuff, we do need to go in one more time and talk about. So you got this big matchup, uh, Georgia taking on Ohio State, Michigan taking on TCU. It's going to be really interesting. You guys took on Michigan in the semifinals last year, Tyler, and so now we're looking at you guys taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes, back-to-back Big Ten matchups for you guys,
We love it.
bringing to the forefront all this talk about the SEC and the dominance of the SEC and the Big Ten. Folks like our guy Jeremiah, who likes to think that it's all SEC bias on ESPN and everything. Now we get to put it on the field and see how it really shakes out, and if it's really just bias or if it's maybe something else. But what are you feeling about the Dogs now? We've had a couple of weeks to digest this. How are you feeling about it? How you feel about what you've been hearing and the way that game's going to go?
You know, I mean, obviously they're it's good that, you know, I'd be more nervous if this was like a mid-season out of conference game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But you're giving Kirby Smart, you know, a month to prepare for a game. Now, however, that is conversely giving Ryan Day and the Buckeyes the same amount of time to prepare. But and Ohio State didn't have to play in their championship game. But I'm excited. I'm actually really excited because it gives us, like, you know, just a chance to play a level of competition that people are going to want us to play, going to want to see us play. Like, I feel like a good route to end out, you know, we went undefeated against all of our SEC opponents. Obviously, there's no Alabama, but Alabama didn't prove themselves worthy to be here anyway, so it doesn't even matter. But our path would be Ohio State, which is, you know, year in and year out a top 5 team. And then it would either be Michigan or possibly even TCU. So if we get to beat Michigan twice in 2 years, what more can you say about us? You know what I mean? It's us getting to play the 2 powerhouses of the Big Ten to win it all.
Right.
To really assert ourselves against the Big Ten 2 games in a row.
Yeah, so TCU. Let's talk about a little bit about who that other matchup. You got TCU and Michigan, and you know TCU with that disappointing loss in overtime to Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game, very close. And you know Max Duggan tried to get it in, and just came up a hair short. Otherwise, we're probably talking about TCU as at least the number, you know, staying in their same number 3 spot, but possibly even supplanting Michigan as the number 2. I doubt it. I still think Michigan probably hangs on to that 2 spot. But Max Duggan declaring for the draft, do you think that kind of clarifies and just, you know, removes that doubt maybe that his teammates may have had? Or do you think that it's actually going to possibly be detrimental, you know, knowing that your quarterback is – because I think so in some ways it could be like, all right, guys, this is our shot. Let's go out there and lay it all on the line.
Yeah, it's almost like
we're not going to get this shot again because he's not coming back.
Exactly. It's almost like him saying to them, it's like, listen, I'm winning. I'm on my way out, so I'm winning one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's shown that he's all about maximum effort, that like he works like, you know what I mean? He's not, no offense, Anthony Richardson declaring for the draft and then Florida gets waxed just like I thought would happen to Oregon State.
Although I will say this, shout out to Florida for maintaining the longest active streak of not getting shut out with that one little field goal to squeak in and stay. Like 1988, the last time Florida got shut out. That's insane if you think about it, because there have been some bad Florida teams in that stretch. There have been some amazing Florida teams, but there have been some bad ones too, and they still got it done. They it was only a field goal, but they remain, their streak remains alive.
Hey, it is, you know, it is what it is. But my point is that, like, I think that he's an NFL talent, right? Wouldn't you say that he's got, you know, he I don't know if he's NFL starter talent, but he definitely has a roster spot waiting for him somewhere.
Listen, Ryan Perrilloux, after he left LSU and, you know, like got kicked off the team and everything, bounced around, I think Jacksonville State and a couple other schools, he ended up with the Giants for a few years, just hanging around on their practice squad and like as their number 3 and their backup QB, got some, you know, some training camp, you know, preseason game work and everything. So yeah, I definitely think Richardson has that opportunity. Now, Max Duggan, you know, that's a different story because you've seen some of these.
You think he's NFL talent? Duggan?
If Andy Dalton is, then why not?
Fair. That's fair. That's totally,
you know what I'm saying?
Totally fair.
If we're going redheaded TCU quarterbacks.
Yeah, right. And it's like,
why not go
how
right
come
there?
they're the two of the best quarterbacks in that team's history? It doesn't, like, you know what I mean?
If I'm Sonny Dykes, I'm going look for some redheads, man. It's all ginger quarterback recruiting from here on out.
That he has earned that team's respect regardless.
Absolutely.
I think that, like, the way he literally willed
yeah, Absolutely.
It's hard, like I would say in basketball it's possible, but like it's for one individual in a team sport that requires offense and defense separately to will
Hmm.
his side to a win, or at least
Multiple times.
make it a
Mul-
contestable game.
yeah.
Like that's heart and determination, in my opinion. And
Yeah. And he's doing a lot of it with his
I
legs.
say they make it interesting. I think
Yeah.
they cover whatever that spread is. I think they make it a field goal game. I can't
Mhm.
say they'll win, but I definitely think that Michigan's in for a game. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
TCU
The
sure as hell isn't going to roll over. I'll tell you that much.
right. The big telltale is going to be like how does TCU's defensive front
And that's going to
perform
be the hard part.
against that
Is
Michigan
Corum
O
going to be
line?
healthy coming into this game or no?
No, Corum's done. He's
Okay.
out. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
He
Or at least
should've
that's what I heard. That's what I heard is that
He should have been at the Heisman ceremony,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I agree.
I think that him and Hendon Hooker could have still been at the Heisman ceremony, even if like you weren't
Mhm.
gonna give it to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
I think I love Stat, but he could have easily not been there, and you could have had Corum or Hendon Hooker still there.
have like another Heisman trophy that he's holding up a fifth of Jack Daniels or something like that, pouring it out for Hendon Hooker and and Blake Corum. Like, sorry guys, this Heisman's for you. We're gonna pour out a little bit.
I mean, Caleb Williams, I think that was the right call for the Heisman in the end.
Yeah, it's
most outstanding.
It's kind of a weird year for the Heisman, to be honest. Where like usually you have that guy who's like so undeniably the Heisman winner, and he plays like RG3.
I think it was Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, like something like that, where it's like, all right, they didn't win anything. They were not like a championship caliber.
But they looked good when they played.
But they were insane when they were playing. And Caleb Williams, let's be honest, had two of his most disappointing performances in their two losses. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, you can say what you want to say about him getting injured in the second matchup with Utah, but the first time they played, he had some turnovers, made some mistakes, and really he almost cost them the game against UCLA a couple weeks before. So I just look at that and I'm like, man, it would have been really cool if you had either I don't know, CJ Stroud, if Ohio State beats Michigan, now all of a sudden it's like and Stroud has an amazing game. It was just kind of like this weird sort of like which one of these guys wants it the least, because those guys are not going to get it. And Caleb Williams apparently got it by default because he was hurt too. Like if he had gotten hurt a couple of weeks earlier, would he have been in the Hendon Hooker Blake Corum spot?
That's very true. And, I mean, to me, what kind of like he had his moments against Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Like when I think about like Heisman moments, you think about Johnny Manziel against Bama, where he's just like running around.
That's Notre Dame though. Like this is a Notre Dame team that lost to Marshall.
I'm aware.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's not the same as Johnny Manziel doing what he did against Alabama. That Alabama team was elite.
Yes, and I know that it's not the same, but at the same time, the way it looks, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, that guy who's running to this side, if you're running to that side, if you're running back to this way, oh, he's found somebody open. 30 seconds later, he touched the middle of the field, now he's gone. That sort of thing.
Yeah, Reggie Bush against Fresno State, that kind of thing where it's like, bouncing all around and making amazing plays. Yeah, it's just one of those things where like you look at it and you say,
Manziel still played in his bowl game. So did RG.
Yeah, right. And where is the signature Caleb Williams win? Is it that UCLA? It doesn't have one. That's what I'm saying. So like
UCLA could have been a loss. It wasn't
exactly, and it would have been his fault too.
Yeah,
because he made some dumb plays. Exactly. So anyway, all right, let's get into it's bowl season. All right, so let's without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So today we got a couple of games. Eastern Michigan, San Jose State, Liberty, Toledo. Woo! The only one I'm really looking at is the Liberty Toledo game because I'm interested to see how this Liberty team responds. I actually have them picked to win this game. I got a little bet on this one, but it could go completely to hell if they don't respond well to Hugh Freeze leaving. But I kind of think
a two-way situation. That's a two-way street.
Exactly. I kind of feel like they could actually respond very well, and like that now that ship has sailed. Let's go out there and win for us. Screw the coach who's leaving us. So you have to scroll down a little bit. I actually like Air Force to beat Baylor here too, as well.
And the Armed Forces Bowl. What makes more sense?
Another underdog, and they're playing in an Armed Forces Bowl, and they're the only Armed Forces team in said bowl. So yeah, I'm going with that. But the Gasparilla Bowl, that's where we get to our first SEC matchup, Missouri Wake Forest. We talked about this a little bit on your show. Have you had any additional thoughts? I think it's going to be tough for Missouri to stop this Wake Forest
I like
offense.
Wake. I
Yeah,
like
I do
Wake.
too.
I think
And-
that like they're not going to put up as many points as they would in an ACC schedule, but I think
Right.
that Wake it is hard to deny that Wake Forest has a pretty solid offense.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I'm going to pull something up because this is one of the things that we've talked about a lot in the past. So Missouri is, as we speak, the 5th best SEC East division team, and that puts them behind. I don't know if they would be behind Arkansas or not, but they would be behind the other 4. So that makes them at best the 9th best SEC team. Now let's go to the
They're
ACC
sixth in the
standings.
East. They had my thing has them sixth. Wake Forest is 6th in the Atlantic Division. Missouri is 6th in the East of the SEC. Or you
Okay,
looking at
okay.
something different?
Or no, 6th. Yeah, you're right. 6th, not 5th. Yeah, my bad. So they would be. So then they would be 10th in the or 11th in the SEC overall.
It says the 6 and 6.
So for
Is Texas
yeah,
A&M
6 and
with a losing
4.
record?
So they would. So Missouri would either be number 10 or number 11 in the SEC, and Wake Forest. Yeah, Wake Forest would be roughly all right. So this one's actually kind of evenly matched, although I still think Wake Forest is probably a little higher in the
Agreed.
ACC overall standings than. But
Agreed.
they both finished 3 and 5 within their conference. So it's comparable. Typically, though, what we've seen is this is not the
Yeah.
case, and it's it's SEC number 11 against other conference number 2 or 3, or maybe even their conference champion.
Yeah.
But I do like, as much as we're an SEC show, I do like Wake Forest in this game. It'll be interesting to see if Missouri can actually
Gasparilla.
handle that. Yeah, the Gasparilla. You got me, man. I don't even try anymore to keep up with why these people. There's a Jimmy Kimmel Bowl.
I know, right?
What world are we in where you got a dude host sponsoring? Now I know it's his show and everything, but still,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. So scrolling down, there's some other games in here I got in my dog catcher that are kind of interesting. We'll get into those in a little bit, but I want to just go through
Kansas,
the SEC
Arkansas.
games. Yeah, where is it?
Liberty Bowl is the next one I see. Kansas and Arkansas.
Oh yeah, Kansas and Arkansas. Yeah, that's right. So this one's such an interesting game if we're playing this game in week 1 and it's KJ Jefferson full strength and Jalen Daniels full strength.
Yeah.
And I just don't know what to expect from this game. Again, this is one of those we see this so much in college football where you get to the bowl season and there's so many different factors that go into it. Coaching changes, coordinators moving from one school to another, guys entering the transfer portal, guys declaring for the draft, sitting out, guys who are banged up all year, and it's finally caught up with them. And then there's that one factor that was always the case in every bowl season, even before the transfer portal, before all the massive coaching changes that happen like clockwork these days. You even go back to the 80s and you didn't know how these kids were gonna, because they're still very young men in their 17 to 24 age range, and how are they going to respond at this point in the season emotionally in one of these matchups? Are they just enjoying? Now granted, it's Memphis, Tennessee. It's not LA, it's not Miami,
Not the Bahamas.
or the Bahamas or Hawaii or anything like that.
Yeah.
But Memphis has a nightlife. Memphis has like
it's still a Tennessee town,
a glitz and glamour kind of culture where you could get lost in that stuff. And so how are these guys going to perform? I kind of, this is crazy, but I'm kind of going against the SEC yet again in this one. What do you think?
I think that it could be very interesting. I think Arkansas I think it's going to be unfortunately a close game, or Arkansas could just say screw it and then just get their doors blown off. Kansas, they're both 6-6 teams. Kansas finished 8th in the Big 12 overall, and Arkansas finished 5th in the West at 6-6. So they're like the ninth or 10th team in the SEC when you break that down.
Right. Yep, they're down there.
They're right around Mizzou.
They'd be right there in Missouri's range. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. It's I don't know. Here's the thing: I think it's gonna be ugly because it's like who's actually playing, who's here to play, who's not type thing.
Right.
I mean, Sam Pittman's gonna get the boys to try to play. I know that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I feel kind of similar, and Kansas started off really strong and then fell apart late in the season when Jalen Daniels went down. I mean, they were undefeated; they were really just kind of running roughshod, and he was on the Heisman list there for a minute, and then I can't remember the kid's first name, but Bean, the quarterback who came in, he played okay in spots, but he was ultimately nowhere near as effective. Like I said, I kind of like Kansas in this game, but Arkansas is a 3-point favorite. I just think it's going to be close, and I think it's kind of pick 'em for me at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes down to like whoever has the ball last of these two schools. They both play okay defense, but it's about whether their skill guys can get in space and if somebody breaks a play or creates a turnover. That's what it's going to come down to. I don't see a real distinct advantage for either team here. Now, the Texas Bowl, you got Texas Tech, Ole Miss
in Houston.
And that's a long way from Lubbock, but it's
a lot of points. I see a lot of points in this game.
I do too. Like this is a Lane Kiffin special. So which Ole Miss team shows up? Is it the Ole Miss team that got big leads on so many teams and beat Kentucky and had those types of performances early in the year, or is it the Ole Miss team that ultimately lost to Mike Leach and Mississippi State in Mike Leach's last game, or got their doors blown off of them in the second half by LSU and had some other disappointing performances? I don't know. I don't know who's going to show up for this game, but if
there will be points on both sides of the ball. I know that on both sides of the field there will be points, and that's kind of what I mean. There's a reason that the point totals at 70.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if it gets there, but good Lord, I don't see a low scoring game. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I like Kiffin to actually have with this time to prepare. This game's not for another week or so. What is it, on the 28th?
Yeah, it's next week.
Yeah, next week. Wednesday the 28th. So yeah, he's got 8 days from now, and he's had a few weeks to get ready for it. I like him pulling out some tricks and having this team ready to put up some points and outscore Texas Tech in this game. So I'm going with Ole Miss here. What's the spread on this one? Let me see.
3.5.
3.5. Okay. Yeah, I mean I think they could cover that. I like Ole Miss to cover in this one. So let's scrolling down.
Oh, I like this one a lot. South Carolina,
Notre Dame. Listen, this is one.
Beaver
South Carolina,
ball, baby.
Spencer Rattler just coming out of nowhere to go from this South Carolina team just being terrible early in the year to then taking over and knocking off Tennessee and then knocking off Clemson
at
Clemson and ruining their chances, because Clemson's probably in the playoff if they win that game.
They definitely are at least thought about.
It's them and Ohio State, because at that point it was them, Ohio State, USC. I
wish it was them and not Ohio State, if we're being honest.
Yeah, well, I bet you do. But no, so and Notre Dame, we saw. Now Notre Dame also beat the doors off of Clemson the week before that. So Clemson was, or a couple of weeks before. So Clemson was already kind of reeling at that point, thanks to Notre Dame. So this is a really interesting matchup of which of these two teams that knocked off Clemson is actually the real deal, and which one's
Notre Dame has been fraudulent since the start of the year. So that's just like
I agree.
That's like I've been so down on Notre Dame. I don't really care if they beat Clemson because you lost to Marshall.
Right, and
all it does to me is make Clemson look worse. It doesn't make Notre Dame look better.
We saw UConn. Well, after UConn like really laid an egg early in that game yesterday, we saw UConn actually like run the ball down Marshall's throat.
UConn had a better game against Marshall than Notre Dame.
Exactly.
Let us put that. No, South Carolina. I'll take South Carolina on the money line. They're like 115.
Listen, I'm liking that too. It's the computer model has Notre Dame still favored by a point, which is better than that 3-point spread. But I'm with you on that. I like, what is it, like plus 120, plus
Yeah, plus
118 somewhere in
115, plus 120.
yeah. I like South Carolina there, and give me that plus money odds on that one.
Yeah,
Another really cool one, this Orange Bowl, Tennessee,
we
Clemson.
lost the South Carolina Bowl.
Yeah, this. Yeah, so it's kind of funny, right? So you have the Notre Dame South Carolina game, which is the We Beat Clemson Bowl, and then it's the We Lost to South Carolina Bowl right after. Oh shoot, man! Isn't that crazy how like a couple of weeks in November can completely change the trajectory of a season?
That's why Saban tries to play his best ball in November, but couldn't even do that.
Yeah, well, and it's also why he schedules no one out of conference, because why?
Hey, at least we do. I always like to point it out that Saban does what we do. We do.
Yes, Saban's a chicken. We all know this though. So anyway, Tennessee, Clemson, and then he still complains and says that like they should be in the playoffs because the Vegas odds. It's like, what?
He really brought up Vegas.
We really go into the Vegas odds, which like they're wrong all the time. I don't care about the spread. That's why I make money off of the spread, because I pick the underdogs that are going to upset Vegas. So shut up about your rationale is out of here. Vegas picked you to beat LSU by 2 touchdowns. So what does that say, fool? Anyway, Vegas also picked LSU to beat Texas A&M by 10 points. That didn't happen either.
Oh, they're in Hard Rock Stadium. I was like, the Orange Bowl doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. So this is, but yeah, it's in Miami. It's still the Orange Bowl. It's just not the Orange Bowl. The like old Orange Bowl,
like the falling apart Orange Bowl.
Joe Robbie Stadium or whatever. It's not that anymore. But Tennessee, Clemson, so what's your feel on Clemson? I mean, on Tennessee, without Hendon Hooker. It's not the same, but I think
Hyatt also sitting out too.
Is he really?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, see that, man. And I bet you Dabo got some got some come to Jesus talk with his guys. Is it they've at least won national championship.
Jaden Hyatt or Jalen Hyatt?
I think it's Jalen, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that makes it interesting, because
I
now
believe that Jalen Hyatt is sitting out for this game.
Yeah, that's a big deal because
that's like their guy. Now Milton, the quarterback, is still pretty good.
Yeah, but if you don't have your number one receiver, I just don't. That's
I will not be playing. So Jalen Hyatt specifically says that he'll be on the sidelines to watch the game, but he's not playing.
Yeah, give me Clemson. What's the spread on this one?
5.5.
5.5. Yeah,
especially if DJ's playing, at least gives them like a chance.
Yeah. Well, and even if he doesn't, like that Klubnik or whatever his name is, kid,
he's actually not bad. Like, who should have probably been playing?
Right.
The kid who.
How do you pronounce his name?
I feel like the general public agrees Dabo should have been playing.
Exactly. And actually, they played better in whatever game that was, NC State, I think, maybe, or Syracuse.
Whatever game
where he came in.
He went in.
Yeah, he went in, and I actually played the money on Clemson to come back and win that game, and nailed it. All right, so then we get into I'm going to skip over the playoff games because we got some other games.
K-State.
We got Alabama, Kansas State,
which
in the Sugar Bowl.
Will Anderson and Bryce Young have declared that they are playing in this game.
They are playing, which is crazy. Like only Saban can like threaten his players enough with, I don't know what he does, but somehow he like gets his guys to play in these games.
They're both first round draft picks, and they're
right. And like that, and we already saw, like, I would be like, bro, shut up. We saw what happened to Jameson Williams last year. Like one little cut and he's done. And he had to wait until November to start playing for the Lions this year.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that, to me, that says distinct advantage for Alabama, because if you got two studs like that playing and they come out and they're not, playing with kid gloves.
They're also playing pissed off.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. This is their chance to prove to the whole committee and everybody else, like, look, see what we did to
when they hang 60 on K-State.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. When they win 48-12 against K-State in the Sugar Bowl, and then TCU gets blown out or Ohio State gets blown out, or something like that.
If one of those bottom teams gets dog walked, then Allianz gonna be like, see what we mean, guys?
Yeah.
You can see it now. They're gonna just absolutely annihilate Kansas State, and
Mhm.
then TCU is going to get just shown the door by Michigan, and it's going to be a whole thing.
But back to so we're just going to show so this is a few different scenarios where we're looking at the same thing, right? All right, so K-State, you've got the conference champion,
Yep,
won the conference championship in the Big 12, playing against Alabama, who is what are
second in
they
the
like
West.
second in the West, but that would put them at fourth in the conference
Yeah,
behind Tennessee, Georgia, and LSU.
uh huh.
So you got number 4, SEC number 4 against Big
It's
12 number
conference
1,
runner-up.
right? All right. So then in Tennessee, you have SEC number 3 against Clemson, who is ACC number 1.
ACC
So
champ. Yeah,
so this is again where we're getting to this thing where it's like we talk about the bowl record and all this stuff, and it's like, okay, but it's not the SEC top 5 teams all play against conference champions.
yeah.
Now, I'll say so the one lone exception to that is LSU playing Purdue. So that one you have runner-up versus runner-up. This
Yeah.
is SEC runner-up versus Big Ten runner-up.
I think this is like what actually when you think about it, Chad, we've been talking. This is one of the Bama, Kansas State, the Tennessee Clemson are the one that are mismatched. I think that Missouri, Wake, and Ole Miss, Texas
Uh-huh.
Tech, and those other 3 are actually pretty fair. These
Yeah.
are where it gets lopsided.
Right. And I think Mississippi State, Illinois, similar. It's going to be really interesting to see how Mississippi State's
Yeah.
players
By the
respond
way,
to
yeah.
the loss of Mike Leach.
We are an
RIP Mike
SEC
Leach.
podcast. Seriously.
Yeah, one of the all-time greats. He a really good coach, really innovative coach, and on top of being just an extremely innovative coach and fun to watch, there's nobody who I enjoyed their press conferences more
Not a
than Mike
chance.
Leach.
And his stories
It's
about
crazy.
having a kickoff contest, a field goal contest at halftime, one of his games. And then there's also the one where they intentionally dropped a fake scripted plays to trick Texas for like the first couple plays, and they went up 17. Like, it's a damn shame. And after you and I have we've talked at length about what we think about him and all the good things we think about him, it's just massively.
Yeah, so
And
funny story.
if anybody can he's like, obviously it sounds like his medical situation. If anybody
Uh-huh.
can come back from 4th and 95 on their own 5-yard line, it would have been Leach. I honestly was hoping he was going to pull through,
Yeah, me too.
but it's really a shame. And I just hope that those boys get up for him. I think they will in this
Yeah.
situation. I think they're gonna get up for him.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm hoping that's the case. So, you got that one, Mississippi State,
Kentucky and
Illinois,
Iowa.
which is a really good one. Yeah. Then we got Iowa, Kentucky. That one
Under.
is at
Oh, God.
Nashville.
Over, under. Guess what the over under is?
I don't know, 26,
31.5.
31.5. Okay, that's fair. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be ugly. And no Will Levis,
They're going to be in Nashville, which is also dangerous.
Yeah, so no Will Levis just makes it to where it's this very, because he's already entered the portal,
I picked a 6-3 game.
yeah, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be disgusting, and I don't know where the offense is going to come from except the kicking game. And I don't want to pick a side on this one.
The offense is going to come off of Broadway. What do you mean? They're going to step right off of Broadway and right onto the field.
The spread is 2.5. I don't even think
No,
it's going to be a crazy close game, but it's going to be the kind of game that is all field goals. So you can't go plus 2.5 because it's not enough.
Goals and one safety.
Because if it's 6-3 or 9-6 or something like that, then you still lose.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you'd have to get a safety to cover.
All field goals and one safety. I can see it now, Chad.
Okay. All right. So then you're telling me to take Kentucky plus the 2.5. I'm not doing it. I would actually, if I did anything, I would probably take Iowa minus 2.5 and just trust that they're going to get the one field goal that wins it, because I don't think anybody's scored a touchdown in this game. We already talked about Alabama, K-State, Mississippi State, Illinois. Like we said, it's Mike Leach, and it's how that team comes out and responds. I really think they run through a wall for him one last time in this game.
100%.
And I think there's probably going to be them going for it on 4th and 4 from their own 25 multiple times in this game, just as an homage to Mike Leach, because that's what he would have wanted. And Illinois has been really enigmatic. They had that game where they got beat by Michigan State in a game where they were favored by like 2.5 touchdowns, but then they almost beat Michigan. It was down to a field goal at the Horn, and they had Michigan on the ropes. So I don't know what to expect out of this Illinois team. This is a very well matched game, especially if Mike Leach were still available to coach this game. But I think that I got to give the edge to Mississippi State here, because I think that Mike Leach's spirit will be the wind behind their backs in this one. Now we move on to this big game.
Yeah, what are your thoughts
here for this show? LSU Purdue. I mean, I think so. Purdue's in a kind of a coaching state of flux, and I think they brought in Drew Brees as like a coordinator
really
type or whatever for this game. Yeah, he's like some kind of consultant, whatever, something. Anyway, for this game, so I think that's more window dressing on what I think is not an awesome setup for them. But I don't know. Talk about enigmatic teams. This LSU team losing in College Station to a Texas A&M team that was just really kind of playing out the string, and I guess they mustered up enough hatred for LSU to get it done in that final week. But this is an LSU team that you look at the way that I know you guys blew us out, okay, but we had a play where the ball should have been blown dead on the blocked field goal, and everybody's walking off the field, and then they just scoop it up. Every other time I've seen that happen, when the ball rolls to a stop, that's it. The play's dead.
I'm not denying it. I'm not denying that.
And then we had
we didn't need the help. No,
the helmet interception. So I don't know. And then Jaden Daniels was hurt. It's weird. We have Jalen Daniels for Kansas and Jaden Daniels for LSU, but Jaden Daniels hurt coming into that game. Got hurt in the A&M game. Hurt his ankle, and he just wasn't the same. You could see it. And Garrett Nussmeier came in and lit you guys up in the second half, and kind of made a semi game of it.
We tend to let that happen to the backup quarterback. Who we didn't game plan for. I was trust me, Chad. I was getting all sorts of like Vietnam flashbacks. I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. For the third time in like 5 years, we're about to have the backup quarterback come in at halftime and save the day.
Yeah, it wasn't quite enough. He still had enough interceptions in his back pocket to help you guys out, but no. So what I was going to say is that I still hung 30 points on one of the best defenses in college football, and beat Alabama in overtime at home, but then lost to Florida State week 1. Got blown out by Tennessee.
Florida State loss, that does not help your case. I feel like you would admit that Florida State loss, and you were having a very different conversation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that they go into that. Although I will say this: so the jury's still out on Brian Kelly, and we're going to get into, when we're done talking about the bowl games and the playoff, we're going to talk for a brief minute about the recruiting stuff that's coming up, because tomorrow is National Signing Day, or the start of the early signing period. Brian Kelly, jury's still out for me. One of the things I was really disappointed in is, so as great as it is to beat Alabama in year 1, which is unprecedented for an LSU coach, it's very telling to me that knowing what they had to play for, you're still playing for a national championship shot. To go into that game against Texas A&M and come out completely flat and get owned by them the way that they did, even though they tied it up late, or to start the second half, and it was getting a little closer, and then the scoop and score just kind of like put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
It should have never been that close if you are who you're supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see how, as he starts to get his recruits in, and it's really his guys that buy into his system, it might be a little bit different. But I like LSU in this game.
Just be careful.
Purdue
We know how much Purdue loves to just upset people's days.
Yes.
Especially, didn't Purdue beat Tennessee in their bowl last year?
I don't remember. Maybe this one's in Orlando. It's the Camping World Citrus Bowl.
Woo! So you guys are all going to get a free tent and maybe a generator.
Yeah, and so I'll throw this one to you, because it's not an SEC game, but it is Penn State. And that's up in your area of the woods. The Rose Bowl, Utah and Penn State.
That's going to be a fun game to watch.
It is going to be a fun game, I think, but I also think that it's. I think this is a
Utah
game.
had guys declare, but I know that Cam Rising is still available and playing.
Yeah,
right?
if Rising is playing and that Kincaid kid is playing, I think they're good.
The only thing that Utah needs to be wary of is the running back committee of Penn State. You know, I think it's Singleton and there's another guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't pay
and Sean Clifford, just old man. Listen, there's Stetson Bennett's an old man too. At least he wins, so it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, is Sean Clifford playing? It doesn't even matter. I don't. For Penn State, their likelihood of winning does not rest on whether Sean Clifford plays or not. It's that they have
like a stud. Don't you have a stud quarterback, a stud recruit quarterback that's like a freshman?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like Will, and you know what's funny? They could have had Will Levis as their starter too, and they let that walk out. Anyway, you know, so Penn State, as far as personnel decisions, you know, I think they'll actually be all right. You know, I think that this actually turns into a pretty good game. But I would worry if I was Penn State, especially
all right.
if
So
is playing.
So real quick, I'm going to tell you how this is going to go so that you don't have to weigh in on it because you're too emotionally invested in it. But where is it? Where the hell's the playoff stuff?
What's your thought about Penn State, Utah before we move on?
Oh, Penn State, Utah. No, I like Utah. I like Cam Rising, and I like Utah to get it done. They play good enough defense that I think they'll give Penn State enough trouble, and you'll see a few 3-and-outs, and I think Utah scores just enough to get it done. So Michigan's going to beat TCU. That's my prediction. I really want TCU to play well in this game and win it. I think it's going to be close, but I just think that.
Do you think that Michigan covers against TCU though? Do you think that?
No, I don't. No, I don't think they cover. It's like 7.5.
Yeah,
I like TCU to cover that number, but I like Michigan to win a close one. I like you guys to blow the doors off of Ohio State.
I sure hope so.
I think Ohio State is not as good as they're made out to be, and then I think when it ultimately comes down to it, you guys against Michigan, as much as Michigan wants to play their revenge for last year's semifinal game, I don't see it happening. I think this is too good. Here we go. This is now we know who that is. Good old Jeremiah is in the chat. He's throwing up the Horned Frogs. He's just it's just whatever it takes to beat Michigan. That's what he's looking at. I'm with you, Jeremiah.
I would love TCU to win. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's where I see it going. I see Georgia taking it back to back, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough sledding for a lot of college football because you're starting to see, and now we're going to get into the next facet of this program, which is the guy. Let's see, where's the shoot, man, I'm trying to switch tabs. Okay, my bad. I'm trying to.
I'll tell you. I'll just say, like, from like an optic standpoint, though, UGA Ohio State is such a nice looking matchup.
Yeah,
that just like as like from a historical perspective and from like they were, we were supposed to do a home and home with Ohio State, and they kind of like. Like I think it was within like this year or the next year we were supposed to do a home and home with them, but they kind of backed out. Damn shame.
Yeah. So let's get into the recruiting team rankings because this is where it's going to get really interesting. And I kind of feel for the rest of college football as this begins.
Texas and Miami?
Yeah, well, it's still early. It's still early. You haven't. So LSU's got some guys that they're still waiting to pull in. Alabama and Georgia are going to separate themselves even more up here.
It looks like even if all stays like guys commit where they're supposed to, Bama is like 99% going to end up with the number one recruiting class.
Yeah, and A&M is going to rocket up this chart because they only have 15 commitments in right now. And they've got
2030. Okay, see you there, Jeremiah.
What's that?
Georgia, Ohio State, home.
Okay. There you go. We got a few Big Ten SEC matchups this year in the bowl season, so we'll see. But it's there's a couple of them that are evenly matched and some not so much. I think the Purdue LSU game and the Iowa Kentucky game are fairly evenly matched. The only thing is that the Kentucky game is disappointing because Will Levis already transferring. You get to play Kentucky without their starting quarterback. So it's and we know what that means for that team. Like it's the night and day when you have him in there. But so you got Alabama, Georgia, and then Texas coming to the SEC soon. Then you got LSU, obviously. Ohio State is right there.
Is this his grad year? Is he graduating this
Yeah,
year?
he's done, and he's going to be a true freshman at
Do
Texas
you
next
believe that
year.
he's going to Texas? Like,
And then it's weird.
You have the skinny on the recruiting situation down there. You know,
It seems like that's actually what's going to happen. But look, Dad went to Ole Miss. I mean, well, Grandpa went to Ole Miss. Dad didn't play college football because he got
one
hurt.
of the biggest what ifs, if you think about it.
Cooper got hurt. But his two uncles, one went to Tennessee and one went to Granddad's school at Ole Miss. And I was thinking, like, well, will this be the one? Because they all have gone to school in New Orleans, and their dad played for the Saints. And I'm like, is this going to be the one that comes to LSU? Like, no. None of them want to come here.
That's crazy. They all grew up in Louisiana, but none of them went to LSU.
Yeah, well, Archie didn't grow up in Louisiana, but he ended up playing for the Saints.
Okay.
He got drafted out of Ole Miss to play in New Orleans, and ended up playing with the Oilers later on as well. But yeah, so I'm looking at that, and then I'm looking at Oklahoma coming to the SEC soon, and then Tennessee. So that's in the top 10. The way that this looks, in a few years, because they're already talking about Oklahoma and Texas joining in 2024. And then you got Florida. Scroll down some more, you got Texas A&M, and they're going to move into the top 10, I think, before this is all said and done. Oregon. South Carolina is right there.
A&M only in the teens.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, that's what I'm saying. They only have 15 commitments right now, and they've got a bunch of guys who haven't committed, and you're going to see them sign some guys here coming up soon. So let's I do want to break this down real quick, because we're going to get into the recruiting stuff a little bit more once we actually get this early signing period out of the way. We're going to talk about the fallout of that, and then like what is going to come in February, and how that's going to shake out. Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and I don't want we could spend 4 hours today talking about who's going where, who might go where, and who might not,
and things like that.
Right.
Oh. Your quick question. I don't know if this is the right time, because we could talk about it for 30 minutes. Deion Sanders going to Colorado.
Yeah, no, that's a big. I actually thought about putting Deion on the thumbnail for this, because listen, they're already talking about, like, there's some Colorado guys leaving because he's already told them, like, yeah, you're not going to be here.
Here's my thing.
I got other guys coming to take your spot.
If you are a member of the Buffaloes, right? That's what they are. And so Colorado used to actually be a team, first of all.
Yeah.
And if you are one of the guys that Deion keeps around,
you
have to take that as, okay, this guy sees something in me, and he wants to keep me around for a reason. So what you do is you work hard to be kept around, and you're seen as one of his guys coming.
Right.
You know what I mean? I hope that it at least galvanizes some of those dudes to work hard and get after it, because he says he's bringing some folks in already.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's just making his way through. He's making his way through the coaching rankings, and it is what it is.
Yeah. So
I mean, it is unfortunate that, like, he talked about. I mean, think about what he did. Like, Jackson is going to be in good hands without him, though. Like, he put them in a good spot.
Yeah. So let's get into this one last thing before we go, because this is I'm going to bring it up. This is on 3. The Southern states dominated in producing the most NFL draft picks per capita. So this is where you want to focus when you're looking at recruiting. And this is why it's so important that Brian Kelly locks down the state of Louisiana, and why, the other coaches around the country, but especially in the SEC and some of the other conferences, Big 12 and ACC,
you got to get your own guys.
Is they come after Louisiana and some of these other Southern states to try to get talent. Texas, obviously, you're always getting folks because it's a huge state and there's just tons of talent there, and there aren't enough schools to gobble it all up. But on a per capita basis, wouldn't you know, look who's number 1. Louisiana.
And this is in what time frame, by the way? Or is this just like
this is let's see, where does it say?
Or is this like guys currently in the NFL?
This is NFL talent. Yeah, this is this is over the past 5 years. Top 10 NFL draft talent. So Louisiana's number 1. Mississippi is number 2. And this is per capita again. Alabama's number 3. Georgia is number 4. District of Columbia, this is one that kind of surprises, but you have a very small population. They're, in the -1%, or
There's a
under
lot
the
of
one
prep schools in
percentile.
DC.
Yeah, so you don't have to have that many because it's such a small population. What's that? That's why Brian Hartline steals the South's best receivers. We know what it is. Yeah, hey, look, man, that's shout out to Brian Hartline, who was on that 2007 Ohio State team that got blown out by LSU. Hey, I got to still get these zingers in while I can, Jeremiah. You got Florida at number 6, Tennessee at number 7, North Carolina, Utah, and then Ohio. Look, Jeremiah, you made it in before Georgia did. You got to at least pat yourself on the back for that. You guys have a little bit of talent up there. Why aren't you guys on here? Georgia's number 4. My bad. Yeah. Okay. My bad. I take it back.
I was gonna say you said Georgia. Yeah. Wow.
Okay, I forgot. Yeah. I wasn't thinking about it. I was just thinking too much about trolling you. And it was a big swing and a miss. But you guys obviously have more overall talent than Louisiana, but on a per capita basis, because you have more people living there.
Yeah, listen, but here's the thing. It's funny enough is that we talk about locking down your own state, where we have bungled famously. I mean, I would say we get most of our guys, but I think that most recently was letting the one man who currently holds the Georgia State passing record. Well, there's 2 guys. They both went to Clemson, Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Both from the state of Georgia.
Yep.
And we didn't get either of them. Letting Deshaun Watson go to Clemson was actually a big deal, because he had the Georgia State passing records, and we just let him go.
Yeah, look, man, there's so many guys like that who have who've done the same thing, leaving Louisiana for some of these other schools. Travis Etienne from Louisiana, Devontae Smith from Louisiana, Derrick Henry's from New Orleans. You got all these stud guys.
Could y'all imagine if y'all had Derrick Henry?
Dylan Moses, Landon Collins, like all these guys are from Louisiana.
But we also get a lot of our guys from Florida and the Carolinas too.
Yeah,
we recruit heavily out of Florida, and we like to dip into Texas too. Matt Stafford is a Texas native, so it is.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's and there's plenty of talent to go around, and obviously, like, sometimes you miss out on one of those studs in your own state, and then you go out of state and get somebody else's stud. So it all kind of evens out. Like Harold Perkins came to LSU via Texas. You've got some of these guys that do that. But one of the ones that was really disappointing, as LSU was toiling through a horrible mire at quarterback, was we actually didn't even recruit Dak Prescott. He was a 3-star. He was a 3-star guy out of Louisiana. Didn't even get recruited, and ended up going to Mississippi State, and now look at him.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it happens. You just miss. But by the same token, Justin Jefferson was like a 2-star recruit coming out of high school.
That's so crazy. Like, some of those guys.
He's the best receiver in the NFL now.
What makes it worse for us is Deshaun Watson still has all the passing records for high school in Georgia.
So it's not like you didn't know.
Yeah, it's not like we didn't know. It's not like, you know what I mean? He still has all of the high school passing records, and we let him walk. So that to me is what hurts the most. Like, it's not like we didn't know who he was.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, but we're making a comeback. This is going to be a really good recruiting class for LSU. I know you guys are going to have a really good recruiting class, and I think it's going to be Alabama 1, Georgia 2, and then you're going to have,
the way they have it set up. As long as all the guys who are supposed to sign, is that we'll end up at 2.
Right. I mean, Alabama's so far ahead right now. It's hard. Now, I will say this: the one thing that's interesting this year is the cap that normally exists, because normally it's 25 scholarships, and you can kind of play some funny business with the numbers, where if you don't recruit enough one year, you can carry over a couple to the next year.
Well, that's 25 full scholarships.
This year is
roll out partials to people,
but this year there's no cap. So so LSU is at 25 already, and they're already talking about, like, there's like 3 or 4 other guys they're looking at bringing in, plus like 10 to 15 transfers. So it's a completely different. It's an open ball game now.
Wait, so there's no cap? Because I always thought about, like,
you can only have 85 on your roster. So, but the problem was, what would happen was Saban would have this way of playing these funny games where I went back and looked, and there was a stretch for like 10 years where he averaged like 26 and a half signings every recruiting class, even before the transfer portal started.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, how do you do that when the limit is 25? It has to average out at 25 because you can't like you can't have that many rollover minutes. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
where you get to average 26 and a half for 10 years.
Well, they're giving out partials.
And
Are
then
you talking
LSU was at
about full
24. No, it
scholarship?
was he found a way to play the system.
Oh,
I still think it's kind of BS because it's like it's still it's not equitable. But anyway, bygones. It is what it is. Now I'm just hoping that Brian Kelly can like keep, because what he's doing that's
he
really
will.
impressive is he's
Dude, you got
rebuilding
one
the
of the best.
defensive back ranks where like DBU is making a comeback and LSU's actually got some studs coming in. We actually got a transfer, Aaron Anderson, who was a 5-star receiver from Louisiana, almost committed to LSU, went to Alabama, said screw this, and he's coming back. He already transferred to LSU.
Yeah.
So he's in the portal or out of the portal into LSU's transfer ranks as we speak. And so you combine all those things with the offensive line development, and then we've got like a stable of quarterbacks coming, which LSU has
Yeah.
never had quarterbacks in
Nope.
this whole period of time. And you go back and look, and it's like you go back, there's like Rohan Davey, then Matt Mock, and then there's Matt Flynn, and then there's a just gulf of emptiness in between. And then you get to now Joe Burrow, and then Jaden Daniels. There's a lot of similarities in how the career trajectory of Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow. So I'm excited
Well,
about that. And
you
there's
gotta think
some
about
guys coming too.
you got to think about what guys can show when they have quote unquote handicaps when they're recruiting. When I think
Yeah.
about what you think about Brian Kelly, Notre Dame, and this is no disrespect, but
Mhm.
Notre Dame has a certain academic standard that some of these players have to meet.
LSU does not have.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yes.
that's no disrespect. It's just like
Yeah.
that kind of handicaps your recruiting in a way if you
It's
have to
just the
have guys
truth.
meet a
Yeah.
certain academic requirement. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. No, for sure. For
And
sure.
now he doesn't have that. So now it's like he can really
Hmm.
find who he wants and get who he needs at Baton Rouge.
And if he's done one thing really well at Notre Dame, it's he's developed quarterbacks
Tight ends.
that have, and he's developed. That's what I was gonna say. He's recruited and developed tight ends, and he's recruited and developed offensive linemen. And you're
Oh,
already
yeah, he
starting to see
has.
that. You're already starting to see that at LSU. Like it's starting to come, and it's going to keep coming. And truthfully, like that's been one of the things LSU has always been able to hang with Alabama, skill position wise, but we get our ass whipped at O line.
In the trenches.
Well, so we're fine defensive line, but like
Yeah.
the O line, we get our ass handed to us. Like we have a hard time getting to the passer because they've got all these stud offensive linemen, most of whom they got from Shreveport or New Orleans or something like that, Monroe, from Louisiana, where Saban used his old connections and brought them over.
Yeah.
And then we're losing those guys. So now we're going, we've got like 3-star and 4-star guys that we're having to develop, but they're not the elite. They come into the program at 6'5", 350 and skilled and ready to go. But now you see like with what's his name? Will Campbell and Emory Jones, those two guys, LSU has their tackles now on the right and left side. They're true freshmen and they're monsters. And so
Yeah.
that's like another 3 or 4 years
Let's
of that.
go.
And then you just keep filling that depth, fill
Yeah,
that
we're
bench, and you're
recruiting
good.
heavy on the D line right now. Like we have no quarterbacks in this class because we don't need any. We have
Yeah.
if you look at actually who we have on our bench, it's actually crazy. We have Brock Vandergriff and Carson Beck, who are both 5-star quarterbacks. But
There you go.
and if Stetson didn't do what he did, we probably would have seen them a lot sooner. But
Yeah. Right.
So
Not a
we'll
bad
see.
thing though to get to learn. Let those guys, instead of learning on the field, let them learn from
Mhm.
the sidelines and in practice and everything. And then when they get their opportunity,
Yeah.
there's something to be said for, and the best programs do this all the time, where your stud only plays like his junior year, maybe junior and senior year,
But some of
and
these
then
guys
he's
want to play all the time. Like
yeah
there's like we couldn't keep Justin Fields did not want to sit and wait for Jake Fromm to be finished. You
yeah
know what I mean? That's why he, shout out to Jeremiah. That's why we let him walk to Ohio State, because it's like, okay, go be that guy somewhere else. We'll
yeah
keep the guy because if you are Justin Fields or anybody, you can't say I deserve to start over like the guy who took us to a national championship as a freshman.
Right. Right.
So like there's a pecking order, unfortunately.
Hmm.
But yeah, we're recruiting
Well,
heading to the O
the
and D
thing too
line.
is how you manage that roster, though. How you manage your recruiting so that you have
Mhm.
like it's like an every other year, or where you build that stable to where they know, okay, I may not play as a freshman, but I'm going to get a shot at as a sophomore, and when I'm a junior, it's mine.
Yeah.
Then there's a path that you can see. What, like, the problem with some of these guys, like Fields was one, and then I think that the same thing, it kind of rippled the other direction with Joe Burrow, is he looked at it and he's like, okay, I'm done. Like I can't. There's no path for me here.
At
The
Ohio
only
State.
path I have is if uh, Haskins were to get hurt. And so if you're waiting for an injury, and the rest of your career is just you sitting on the bench watching from the sidelines, that's not, it's a, but if you knew that, like, as soon as he's done, it's your job, and you aren't like parallel in terms of your career path, then it opens it up. So
Yeah, and who
that's
even knows, dude? Because like when you think about it, like from our perspective, it's like there's like the ripple effect where it's like
mhm.
who you can actually thank, and it's really weird to say. Do you know who Jacob Eason is?
Yep.
Yeah, so you could thank him for getting hurt and then transferring to Washington University,
Mm.
and then Jake Fromm starting. That therefore Justin Fields transferred to Ohio State, and then Joe Burrow heads right to LSU.
Oh wow. Devin Leary just transferred to Kentucky
Is
from
that one of
NC
your
State.
guys?
No, from NC State.
Oh, it was who? Devin? Is that
He's
is
the
that
guy
the,
who
was
got
it
he's the one who got hurt.
that their
And when
quarterback?
yeah, their quarterback. Yeah.
Oh, he's good too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good. He's really good. Was he the one that tore his pec or something like that?
He got hurt, and it like definitely like ruined their trajectory of their season. That's for
Or was
sure.
that Schrader at Syracuse that tore his pec? I don't remember. One of them tore a pec. But anyway, yeah, big deal.
It's
Yeah,
been
so
fun. Good
yes,
episode.
very fun. Very fun.
But
Yep.
we have to have Jeremiah on so he and I can just have a shit talk fest before the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here for it. I will moderate. I will just moderate, and
Oh, you hear what he
I
said?
will
Oh,
award
you hear what he
points.
said?
Yeah, I'll just award points as we go.
You're Tony Reale, and here we go.
That's right. That's right. All right, y'all. Y'all enjoy the games and enjoy National Signing Days kickoff tomorrow with the early signing period, and we will be back at it when there's something to talk about as some of these recruits start to come in. Appreciate y'all coming by the South End Zone. I am Chad. He is Tyler. We're out. Peace, y'all.